And your dirty little secret ain't a secret anymore. We know what you're doing in your dirty little war. Same thing you've been doing time and time and time before. Your dirty little secret ain't a secret anymore. That's great. Once upon a time, like back when I was in my youth, the US Army war machine would cover up the truth. But they can't do that anymore, 'cause now we've got the proof of the way they like to throw their weight around. And your dirty little secret ain't a secret anymore. We know what you're doing in your dirty little war. It's the same thing you've been doing time and time and time before. Your dirty little secret ain't a secret anymore. Sing it, guys! That's great. Remember that old saying, don't shoot the messenger? Well, Julian Assange is a messenger. He's not a traitor. He held up a mirror to the people of the USA to show them what is really going down. And your dirty little secret ain't a secret anymore. We know what you're doing in your dirty little war. It's the same thing you've been doing time and time and time before. Your dirty little secret ain't a... On your own now, try it. Your dirty little secret ain't a secret. We know what you're doing. We know what you're doing in your dirty little war. It's the same thing you've been doing time and time and time before. Your dirty little secret ain't a secret. Your dirty little secret ain't a secret. Your dirty little secret ain't a secret anymore. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Julian Assange! There's no secret because of Julian Assange. Our hero, our boy from Australia, we must free him.
Gadigal country, unceded land, land taken by force from its traditional owners, that this sovereignty over this country was never ceded. And we are here on a day, and on behalf of somebody who hasn't seen this sunlight in more than 4 years. We are going to kick off with a welcome to country. We got an elder who's on his way fighting beautiful Sydney traffic on this beautiful morning as we speak. Actually, was getting a coffee. All right. So there are no secrets at a WikiLeaks rally. But we're here on behalf of an Australian who can't be with us this morning. Someone who hasn't seen the sun in more than 4 years. The entire time I've known Julian Assange, he's been under some form of incarceration. House arrest, ankle bracelets, safe houses, an embassy without light, and then 4 years in a maximum security prison in the United Kingdom, in Belmarsh. For the whole time, think of everything that you have done since 2011. All the trips you've taken, trips to the beach, time with family, work, play, just life. Since 2011, he's been under some form of incarceration for telling the truth. I want to thank the organisers for bringing us together this morning, and they dubbed the rally "Journalism is not a crime." Gunning down journalists with helicopter gunships, that's a crime. Torturing people is a crime. Rendering people to black sites and disappearing them without any form of judicial process is a crime. Drone assassinations are a crime. Publishing is not a crime. I was just getting wound up, and now, as is the appropriate courtesy in an event like this, or any event in fact, I'm really proud to invite up to the stage for a welcome to this gorgeous country, Uncle Jimmy.
Oh, good morning, Pujari Gamarua, and absolutely. Welcome to the beautiful lands of the Gadigal people, and I'm very lucky to be one of those Gadigal people, and it's something that I haven't known for a long time, only a few years, but it certainly changed my life to realise my grandfather was a Gadigal Koori. Oh, it's an awesome, beautiful day here in, what are we, in autumn or we moved into winter yet? Nonetheless, it is a beautiful day, no matter what. I certainly wouldn't like to be in Belmarsh prison in cold old England, eh?
Yeah.
What a bloody place to be. what a place to be in any jail, eh? Right across the planet. And this is something that is an abomination to humanity. And as you know, as Australians, First Nations people in this country certainly have an overrepresentation of Indigenous peoples in the jails of this country. It is a big issue, and no politicians got the guts or the courage to step up to the plate and say, listen, this is wrong, this is against all human rights. And even more so, we are not the criminals in this country. No, we are not the criminals in this country. We did not come here, we are not colonisers, we're altruistic people. If anything, we've helped these colonials no end. And they come back and they do the worst they can towards you. And that's a big issue, and it's something this country needs to grow up and wake up to, because it is wrong. And one of the many things that we should be here today for, and obviously what Julian stands for, is to make what is wrong right. And big time. We know what is right. We know what is right. The wrong people get in charge and they change. They distort the truth to suit their own ideology, their own ends. And usually that ends are big time capitalism, huh? Big time capitalism. And this is the very force that is destroying our beautiful planet and polluting it no end. It needs to be looked after. And it needs to be looked after with the right knowledge, and the right knowledge comes from the Indigenous people of this country. And we are sharing, caring, giving people. Eh? We are sharing, caring, giving people. We always have been. How can you live for 60,000 years with selfishness and greed? You can't do it. It is untenable. Something like that just will not happen. Eh? The karma of the universe comes along and says, listen, these people are doing the right thing. Let's make it happen for them. And then comes the coloniser and turned everything on its ear. Everything that was good, right, true and proper is distorted. And just like the First Nations people of this country, we fill the jails. Eh? We fill the jails. And this is a terrible thing. And as you no doubt know, this country began as a penal colony. And that unfortunate culture still lives on, that culture of brutality. And we definitely need to gather, to gain strength from each other and stand up for what is right, true and proper in this world. Because the capitalists, they take over, they take control, they are in your living room, they are in everybody's living room, and they are puking out their propaganda and saying, listen to us, you don't need to be listening to them, you need to be listening to the right people. Because we continuously get the wrong message time and time again. And that's something we just don't need. We need to change and bring that change to this country, and we do it with powerhouse truth. And that's one of the many things Indigenous Australians carry. We carry a powerful truth. One of the many reasons why we are excluded so much. Because capitalists don't like powerful truths. Obviously, huh? They do not like the powerful truths. They like this stuff, and they like control, and they like power over people like you and me who absolutely detest this mentality and this ideology where you jail those who tell the truth. Big time. We need to be free. We need to be free. Australia needs to be free. Truly. Step up to the plate. We step up to the plate and tell the truth. As hard as it may be, and as much courage as it takes to do that. there's still people who will come along out of the community and step up to the plate and start talking the truth. What awesome champions that we can produce in this country, indeed across the planet, if everybody will just do something about it and not sit back and say, oh, let somebody else do it. That's not going to work. What we need is to be cleansed of all of this dross, this misinformation that keeps continuously coming at it and misinforming us and misguiding our kids. We need to be in control of all that kind of stuff. And in our homes is the place where we need to be doing this. And unfortunately, our living room has a thing called a TV in it, and that undermines so much of everything that we stand for that is good, right, true, and proper. Big time. All right. Thank you. Thank you. You're very kind. You're very, very like-minded people, huh? Like-minded people need to get together and stick together. All right. So, I'm going to do a smoking ceremony when I finish up here. What I'll do, I'll start it over there, and I'll bring the coolerman over here, and there's too many of you to all walk around, so I'm going to sit it down in the middle here and get you to walk around the coolerman. That's a smarter way, and that's a heavy coolerman too. God, it's a real heavy one. I've never seen one this heavy. I don't want to carry it too far. So we'll get that happening in a few moments, and right now we need to welcome Julian's wife, Stella, to our awesome, wonderful, fantastic, beautiful country. Look at the sky, huh? Goodness me, I wouldn't be in Europe for all the money in Europe. This is where I come from. This is where my grandfather comes from. And this is my grandfather's country. And it's so good to be here, even though he's passed, back in the 60s. So over 40, 60 years ago now. So folks, on behalf of the Gadigal people, I would like to welcome you, and I would definitely like to welcome Stella Assange to Australia. Hey, big time, big hand for Stella. Hey, the big support. Hey, the big support. And that's what we all need. We all need support when we stand up and we tell the truth. And that should give everybody permission to, that guy's right. Hey, she's right. Let's do it. Hey, let's back them up. That's the mentality that gets us all where we need to be. Not standing back and saying, oh, somebody else should be doing that kind of stuff. No, it should be you. It should be me. And it should be everybody who has a heart big enough to care about what is right, and what direction countries take, especially this one. This is the one that we live in. This is the one that we live in. And as old mate said just a few moments ago, sovereignty never ceded from Perth to Sydney, Darwin to Hobart. This is real, this is true. But we are such awesome, altruistic people that we can deal with it. But we can't deal with these high incarceration rates. These destroy our families in a big, big way. And that is not good for nobody. Not good for Australia. Because we are the backbone, eh? The First Nations people are the backbone of this country. We built the country, eh? We carry the truth. We carry the truth. Seems like if you carry any powerful truths like this, you're going to be targeted by somebody who has their own ulterior motives. So, as I've just said, on behalf of the awesome Gadigal people of the Eora peoples, I would like to welcome Stella. I would like to welcome all you brethren here in front of me and all around us here today. Welcome to the land of the Gadigal people.
Thank you.
Welcome to the land of the Gadigal people. All right. Thank you so much, and I'll get this smoking ceremony happening very soon. And in this context, this is one issue where more is better. So the more smoke you get, the better it's going to be for you. And I should give you a little rundown of what a smoking ceremony is essentially at its core is about. It's about cleansing. It's about getting the dross off us. It's about clearing our auras. And the thing is, the smoke, it gets into the pores of our skin, right? And it gets into our bloodstream. And because it's eucalyptus and it comes from the bush, it is pure. There's no chemicals in this, eh? So it's good that it gets into your bloodstream. It goes to your heart. It goes to your brain, and all the way through it, it is cleaning up your blood. So we wouldn't toxicate you like some capitalists would. We bring healing. Eh? We bring healing to the world in a place where we need it in a big way. So I hope you get a fair whack of this smoke when it comes past you, or you come past the smoke, because it's eucalyptus and it's tea tree. So it's a bit of a cocktail of smoke. So I hope you enjoy it and get a fair dose of smoke into you. All the best, folks. Have a wonderful day. Welcome to the lands of the Gadi.
Please give it up. Generosity, truth, and a heart. Thank you so much, Uncle. And as you heard, get some of that smoke across here. This one is a long haul. We need to look after ourselves. We need to look after each other. And this is the kind of generosity that helps us to do that. Thank you. If you've been involved in this one for any length of time, you'll know that there's a shift. Our no hope is dangerous with this much at stake and for how long we've been at this, but there's a shift. Can you feel it? Things are moving, and the reason that they're moving is not by accident. It's not by some arbitrary law of nature. It's because of the work that we have done and people like us have done in every time zone on this planet to get our friend Julian Assange free, and along the way to show a wounded belligerent superpower that some principles matter, that truth is important, that publishers and journalists have a vital role to play in any society. And so that shift has come about because of the organising that's been done over more than a decade, including, not least by, some of the incredible people that we're going to be hearing from shortly. But I just want to maybe put a quick reminder out there. When I say a shift, this is what I mean. 6 US Congress people, that's the tip of the iceberg, have written to the president of their own party mostly, which is kind of ironic, but at least they've made the effort. That's a first. That has not happened. That took work. A lobbying blitz by the largest human rights organisations in the world, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, Reporters Without Borders, and many others. That's happening around the world and in the United States. MPs, cross-party MPs from Mexico, from Brazil, from the UK, have sent joint cross-party letters to the United States government. 48 Australian MPs from all parties, from all colours of our bizarre political spectrum. And as you'll know, if you look around you at this gorgeous little gathering this morning, that this issue, unlike any I've ever worked on or come across, unites people from very different political traditions. We may not agree with each other on everything, but we know that we agree with each other on this. And that goes from a gathering here, the gatherings in London outside Belmarsh Prison, gatherings in front of the Mexican Parliament, in Brazil, in every country on earth, that we can agree on this. Publishing is not a crime, publishing is not espionage, and Julian Assange should be free. A sign of that shift is the long overdue, the desperately, shamefully overdue bipartisan support from our Prime Minister and whoever the leader of the opposition is these days, saying enough is enough. Julian, this process has to end. That's the shift, and that's on you. That's because of the work that you have done over such a long period of time. It's safe to say that President Biden is not welcome on these shores until our citizen is home, where he can be reunited with his kids, his wife, his family, and his supporters. All right, enough from me. I want to introduce somebody who has been an extraordinary advocate. If any of you have seen the film Ithaca, there's no better documentary record of Julian's legacy, and on behind the scenes look at what the fight to get him free has taken and what it's cost members of his family. Gabriel Shipton is the producer of Ithaca, among other things. He's been a tireless advocate for Julian. He also happens to be Julian Assange's brother. Please welcome Gabriel Shipton to the stage. Thank you.
Hi everybody, big thank you to Scott Ludlam and also Uncle Jimmy who's getting the smoking happening. Big thank you to him as well. Did anyone seen Joe Biden? I can't see him here. I don't think he came. No, got lost somewhere in the debt ceiling crisis. Look, Scott spoke a little bit, about the support and about what is now a worldwide movement for freedom of expression that has developed around the fight to free Julian Assange. And I think if anything is to be taken from Julian's persecution, it's that it has mobilized people all around the world. It has mobilized hundreds, if not 1,000 of you to come here today. It's groups in every single parliament, as Scott was saying, from Brazil to the United Kingdom, Australia, over a quarter of the parliament now in an official Free Julian Assange group. So if there's anything to take away from this, it's that the fight gives meaning to Julian's work and has brought us all together here to fight for one of the things that is so important to our Western democracies, and that's a free press. How can we make decisions about our society if we don't know what our governments do in our name? It's not possible. I want to talk a bit about the special relationship that we have with two of Julian's persecutors, the United Kingdom and the United States. We're about to tie ourselves to this special relationship for another 30 years. We've been in it for many decades beforehand. And I think what we are seeing happening here in Australia, this political movement, this political unity behind the calls to free Julian Assange, should be reflected in this this AUKUS arrangement that Australia has entered into. And so I think it's a really important time that we reflect and allow ourselves to see, are we really equal partners in this AUKUS alliance? And if we were, wouldn't our allies listen to our Prime Minister? Wouldn't they listen to our opposition leader? Wouldn't they listen to 79% of the Australian population and free Julian Assange? Anyway, I'll leave it to the rest of the speakers. Thank you again for coming, and keep fighting. We're closer than ever, and with all your help we can do this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriel. Somebody who is far too humble, considering the contribution, the amount of work and time that he's putting in. Our next speaker today, before we take to the streets, is dear Stephen Kenny, who spent 25 years as a barrister and solicitor, someone who knows his way around the law and knows a little bit about how powerful entities can abuse the law. He's chaired the South Australian Council for Civil Liberties. He also happened to be part of the legal counsel for one David Hicks. I don't know if folk here who've been around a little while might remember that case, how he was another Australian citizen who was abandoned by his government, and it took some striking symmetry actually, tireless efforts of his family, of advocates, to get him out of Guantanamo Bay. Stephen, please be welcome.
Thank you, Scott, and thank you everyone for coming, and Uncle Jimmy for welcoming us so beautifully down there with the smokers. And when I walked in here this morning, there's a little monument down the end that says, "For King and Country." Well, he's not really my king, I don't actually acknowledge him, but I think that one day we need a monument for democracy and those who have defended it and the first name on it should be Julian Assange. Because that's what this case is about. It's about your democracy and your freedom. You want a totalitarian state? Sure, go for it, but go somewhere else, because we don't want it here. Now look, I've said to the Australian government before, have a close look at this case. Get your own legal opinion, because I can tell you what mine is, and mine is that, like David Hicks, Julian Assange has not committed any crime at all. So why is he in jail? If he's in jail, why isn't the editor of the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Spiegel, the Guardian, why aren't they all in there? And if they lock them up, I'll say, well, maybe they are serious about something and some crime that I don't know anything about. But while they are free and Julian is in jail, this is a political matter and it requires a political solution. Now, some of you may think that British justice is just that, but I have an Irish heritage and I know a bit about history and British justice. And you can see it in Julian's case. I mean, just small things sometimes tell you what's going on. And one of those was during the original hearing, Julian wasn't allowed to sit with his lawyers. He was put in a cage at the back of the room, so he couldn't assist his lawyers. I mean, he's a smart man. He understands the law. He understands the facts and knows them better than what his lawyers do. And yet they were stopping him effectively communicating and aiding himself in that court case. And that was unnecessary. And that's a shame. But the other thing is, now Julian's finally being able to have a proper go at appealing the grounds that they lost on the first round some 2 years later. And those documents were lodged in November last year, and a judge has simply got to read them and do what we call an assessment on the papers, which means he's going to read them and go, oh yes, he's got something to argue about. It's not that it should win or anything, he's got to have an arguable case. It's a pretty low bar, and I reckon, despite the thousands of pages that his lawyers have lodged, I reckon I could do it in a couple of days, maybe a week if I was really slow. But these documents were lodged in November last year and nothing since. And you know that justice denied or delayed is justice denied. So I have no faith in them. Now I just should say something to the press that are here, which is great to see you, and the importance of this case worldwide. Now let's imagine if you're in the press and someone comes in like Chelsea Manning and gives you a bunch of documents that relate to the Uyghurs in China or someone in Russia or something. And you think, we're pretty safe here in Australia. We don't have an extradition treaty with China, so we're okay. But think about it, if you publish it and then you go to Bali for your holidays, and when you get to Bali, you suddenly realise that actually China does have an extradition treaty with Bali and Indonesia. And good luck in running your extradition case in Indonesia to stop you going to China. So have a think about that, because that's the precedent that this sets. Now, you've had a pretty long run, so I'll cut it short, but I, of course, get asked about, is there a Hicks solution for this? So my answer to that is, why should there be? He has not committed any crime. Like David Hicks, he should not be forced to plead something. We need our Prime Minister to stand up and not just say enough is enough. We need him to say, we don't need your submarines, because I've spoken to the Australian people and they said it's a crock of you know what. But what we do want is, we want Julian Assange home. And we want him home now. And if you're not going to bring him home, we're going to vote Green, we're going to vote Independent, we're going to vote in people who will bring him home. So let's bring Julian home now. Thank you.
Bring him home! Shortly, we're going to take that message to the streets of this city. Our next guest, or should I say guests, because there's a surprise addition to the program, is a former Australian Army lawyer who disclosed war crimes committed by the ADF in Afghanistan to the media and now faces trial. This is somebody who knows a bit about lawfare and about what states can do to individuals who have the courage to stand up and speak the truth. He is also in the midst of just legal hell and a campaign for his own freedom, made the time, unfailingly, to be a strong and loud advocate for Julian Assange. Please welcome David McBride, and if he's willing, Jake.
Thank you so much, Scott. And yes, hold on. Oh, Jake. He is my constant companion. Don't go away. Come here. And he's more popular than me, so we're bringing him up here. And he's got a few words for Anthony Albanese too. I'm so happy to see everybody here. We are going to win this. We are absolutely going to win this. Are we going to win? Are we going to win louder? What do we want with Julian Assange? We want him free, don't we? Free, free Julian Assange! Free, Julian Assange! That's right. We are going to win this, and this is going to be like apartheid in South Africa. Everyone's going to want to think that they were part of it, but you were part of it. You were here. You can be so proud of yourself. Scott is right, and I'm facing jail. There's a pretty good chance because our judicial systems are just as bastardised as the UK judicial systems. The Americans don't even have a judicial system. And there's a good chance that even though I reported murders and cover-ups, that I'm going to go to jail for the rest of my life. Yeah, exactly. But I've never been prouder. I've never been prouder of it. It's not something that you thank you. It's not something I hang my head about. It is something I am proud of because we need to, well, you guys are here to stand up. You know we need to stand up. The future of the planet depends on it. It's not an exaggeration to say if the government can murder people and those people who report the government murdering people in turn get murdered, and all the big media organisations don't support the murdered whistleblower like Assange and me, but they support the god-awful government. That's the world we live in. And I say this to Anthony Albanese, enough of you saying enough is enough. It means nothing. Imagine if I'd been seeing witness war crimes in Afghanistan, witness murder, witness covered up by people like General David Hurley, and all I said to them was, oh, enough is enough. Enough is enough. It's not good enough. If you see someone getting raped and murdered, you don't go, enough is enough. You've got to step up to the plate. You've got to step up to the plate, Anthony Albanese. Otherwise, you will just be a forgotten Prime Minister, a Billy McMahon, like the idiots who supported the US in the Vietnam War. You know, the protesters were seen as the bad guys then, and now they're the heroes, and the idiots are those who supported the Vietnam War. Anthony Albanese protested against the Iraq War, and now he's cheering on the murderers. It's not good enough to say enough is enough. Even Peter Dutton says it's enough is enough. We need some action, and that's right. If you can't do it, Albanese, step aside and let someone who can do it take over. Real people, real leaders take action. Now, I know what they say. They say we can't do anything because ISIS says we can't do it. What do we think of ISIS? ISIS, these faceless idiots who would not have been biscuit monitor at school are now running our country. You would not get them to look after your dog. And guess what? They love America. They want to do everything for America. Oh, the cops are coming now. And it is bullshit. They should not have the power over us. We have come too far as a country to be ruled by the Americans who can't even control themselves. They've got shootings in schools every day. They've got 10 veterans killing themselves every day. They want a war to save themselves because financial collapse. Don't buy American, don't buy Nike, until these companies start having a statement about Julian Assange, don't buy from them. It's not good enough for them to say, oh, it's not our problem, oh, we're not involved in politics. American corporations are American politics. There's no difference. Don't go to Starbucks, don't go to McDonald's, not that you ever would, but just stop, vote with your feet. We have the power to unlock Julian's prison cell in our wallets. Now let's start doing it. But anyway, once more I'm going to remind you, we are going to win this. Are we going to win? We're going to win because we are right. And no matter how much spin, no matter how many prison cells, no matter what they try to do to us, they cannot change the fact that it is never a crime to report a crime. So I want to thank you all for being here today and smile because we are going to win this. And you're all invited to a victory party in Bondi Beach with Julian Assange as a special guest, and Waverley Council have agreed to it.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Jake. Free Assange. That passion, that fire, that rage has to stay with us after we've dispersed. Yeah? Like, this is important. Gathering here matters. What matters more is what we do with that energy after we've left the event. All right. Our second to final speaker is somebody who probably doesn't need a lengthy introduction at an event like this. It's somebody who, if you've seen the Ithaca film, you will know just how tireless this gentleman is. You will know how many time zones he's crossed, how many countries he's been to, how he doesn't need notes for his speech, I'm informed, because it's all up here now. He happens to be Julian Assange's father. Please welcome John Shipton.
Is a mighty man, David McBride, a treasure. I think we ought to start that thing where we have people's national treasures. Certainly David McBride, Julian Assange. There's a dear friend of mine here in her wheelchair's come down from Brisbane, Jenny. I'll say hello to Jenny. Brown University last week published a paper, 4.5 million deaths in the Middle East since the invasion of Iraq. Previously they published a paper, 38 million refugees. What is a refugee? It's a person whose community has been destroyed, wrecked, looking for succour. We welcome many here to Australia. Many of the people who are our supporters that I meet today were once refugees from Chile or from Greece or Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, Iran. To those people who organise the shattering of nation after nation, Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, Sudan, Libya, Syria, now Ukraine, do those people think that somehow the flux of life, the urge to justice which is in every human heart, do they somehow imagine in their dreams that this will lead to world domination, that they can be hegemon standing in a river of blood? Do they imagine that we, with our undying yearning to see justice done, do they imagine somehow that this will succeed? It's impossible. Julian brought to us the means whereby we can involve ourselves in the formulation of policy through the accumulation of knowledge within ourselves, our families, our friends, our communities and our nations. A great gift that they want, for some reason or other, they do not understand. One, the yearning for justice in our hearts, and the other essence of being, that all genius arises from the people. It doesn't come down like rain from the sky. It arises out of the hearts and culture of us. And if I could nominate some great Australians for you, have you heard of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights? Herbert Vere Evatt, the author, 1948, third President of the United Nations. Have you heard of the Conventions of Asylum taken to the United Nations General Assembly, accepted with only 16 abstentions out of 184 nations, taken and put into law by guess who? Australia under Gough Whitlam. Us.
We can do it! We can do it!
We have a fine tradition which we place on the shoulders of the current government and remind them that they represent us, and without the genius of the populace, they can do nothing but fail. They can do nothing but reap obloquy and indifference and apathy, which means, of course, that institution of policy will fail because we don't support those policies. Really important things. Thanks for coming. We'll all bring Julian home together. And thanks for your patience. I just want to say, free Assange.
Free Assange!
Thank you.
Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange!
Free Julian Assange!
Bring him home, Australia!
Bring him home now. Our final speaker this morning is a lawyer, an international human rights advocate, and a mum. I first met her in 2011, and I don't think she's had a single day off since then. Nobody in this campaign has worked harder or dedicated themselves more to freeing Julian Assange than his wife, Stella. And I'm reliably informed that this is her first time in Australia. Please give a wonderful, warm, Gadigal country, Sydney, welcome to Stella Assange.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. And Scott's right. This is my first time to your land, and it won't be my last, obviously, because I'm going to come back here home with Julian. And our kids, who are Australian citizens, will come home too. It's been a bit bittersweet because I always imagined my first visit to Australia to be with Julian and the kids, but I'm just here for a few days. Obviously, the context for this trip was going to be President Biden and the Quad meeting, but they bailed. But I wanted to come here and be able to speak to all of you, because I want to tell you that you guys are at the forefront of a global movement for justice. A global movement that converges on one man, but the meaning of which goes far beyond Julian's freedom. It's not just Julian who has lost his freedom, but all of us. Because in order to keep Julian in prison, they have had to corrupt their own rules and their own principles. But we've reached a point now, I really feel it. We've reached a turning point, because they know that we know that they are wrong, and that they are cruel, and that they are torturing Julian because he did the right thing, because he is in prison because he exposed the crimes of others. And that no decent, humane human being will ever tolerate that. The only people whose interest remains Julian's imprisonment are the ones who are guilty and implicated in those crimes. Now, I have to tell the children about, try to explain to them what's going on, and I both want to explain to them that this is not a normal situation, but also give them hope. And they have hope because they see the millions of people who support Julian. They see it all the time. But I also have to try to break down what's actually happening here. And I tell them that Julian showed the world that bad people were doing bad things. And those bad people then got so angry that they put him in a prison, and they're holding the keys to his prison cell. But that millions of people are fighting for those keys back. And all of you, each of you, are part of that fight. And there are millions around the world. I've been traveling to Italy, to Germany, in Mexico. John and Gabriel have just been in Mexico, and they were traveling throughout Latin America. Julian's case is a case of global importance. But you guys are at the center of it, because Julian is an Australian. He's a country boy. And he's from this country. And that means that the key to securing Julian's release lies with you. And you guys have been incredible over the years. I mean, I was just in Canberra, and I had a meeting in a packed out room of parliamentarians. There was standing room only. And they were from every party. It's really just the entire political spectrum. who is now saying enough is enough.
With action.
I agree with what has been said here, but let's not lose sight of what an achievement this has been, because a few years ago there was radio silence, and apart from Scott and a few others, people were silent about what was happening, what was being done to Julian. And there has been a sea change, and I'll tell you why. Because of you. Because you know how politicians are. They have opinions about all sorts of things. Sometimes they're the right opinions, but they won't express them unless they think it will further their political career. But you guys have made a very clear signal about what will further their political career. And you need to keep that going. You guys need to shout louder, fight harder, put the pressure on each of your representatives. Make Julian's situation visible everywhere, every day. On your cars, on your shirts, every day you tell all your friends, you talk about it with your family members, you meet with your MPs, and you make sure that Julian stays top priority until he steps out of that prison. Until he comes home to us, to all of us. I think we're near. We can achieve this together. I fight for Julian every day, but I'm not alone. I feel like I am buoyed by all of you and the enormous support that has built over the years of decent people standing for decency, for humanity, and for justice. Not in some abstract way, but in this very concrete way. And don't lose sight of the incredible community that has been formed around this case. All good people I meet, from all walks of life. People I thought I would never meet, not because for anything, but just we wouldn't cross paths. People for which sometimes I would probably have an argument on one or two things, but who have a basic sense of decency and humanity and justice, and who won't tolerate this. Julian knows I'm here today, obviously. I spoke to him this morning. He is really encouraged. It really keeps him going, you know, because every day that passes, if the other side had been successful, he would become more and more invisible, and what's happened is the opposite. And that's because of you. I want you guys to know that Julian appreciates each and every one of you. And that he knows that without you, he would never be able to be free, but now we have hope. We have real hope that Julian will be able to step out into the sun once more. I long for the day where we can come to your beautiful city and walk around these spectacular views. The harbor, my breath has been taken away. It's just so spectacular. I saw a rainbow lorikeet up close yesterday, and I saw about 30 kangaroos on the roadside. It was amazing. Julian has told me so many stories. He grew up in Queensland. and he's lived in Victoria and New South Wales, and he has so many stories, and people just imagine him behind a computer screen, but he's really a country boy, and he's wants to show the kids where he grew up. He wants to take us for walks, and I really long for the day when he'll be able to do that. Thank you. Yes, it's important. No extradition, but not just that. Freedom.
Drop the charges!
Let this man be. Let him live. Enough is enough. Let him come home to our children. Let him have just a dinner at home, you know. Let him sit on the couch. Let him take a nap. Let him feel the air on his skin. It's been denied to him for so long. I really... Let's make it happen, you guys. Thank you.
Can you please show your appreciation to this extraordinary woman who's travelled so far and worked so hard? Thank you, Stella. As Stella says, we're close. We are close, but we're not there. As long as Julian is in that cell in Belmarsh, we can't rest. As every one of the speakers who you've heard from this morning hasn't rest and won't rest. We're close, but we're not there. So the important thing now, the most important thing I think as everybody has touched on, is visibility. They want us to be invisible. They want us to be quiet. We will not be quiet, and we will be visible. On the streets, with the t-shirts, with the banners, on social media, on stickers on your car, doesn't matter what it is.